This week's episode is brought to you by Humango, Super League Triathlon's official AI coaching partner. Humango is a unique training platform that will improve athletic motivation and performance because it understands how we train and why we train. Hugo, their AI assistant, understands your goals and changing commitments to continuously build an adaptive training plan with regular guidance for athletes of all levels. Welcome back to another short Chute Show brought to you by Humango. State-of-the-art AI meets sports science to analyze and optimize your long-term potential, which for sure for me is there, just haven't tapped it yet, maybe in my 50s. My name is McCloy, and once again, as always, joining me to chat about everything triathlon related. And there is a lot this week. Macca sends his apologies. I don't know, he can't work out his own diary, but we do have Tim Don here and Annie Emerson. Hello to both of you. What a fortnight in triathlon it has been. We'll chat all the specifics in a bit, but Tim, I have to ask you first, how was Kona, buddy? It looked good on Instagram.
Oh man, it's so good to be back on the big island. Yeah, it's great. I mean, the racing was off the hook, but not just the pro racing. The double day worked. The pro races win was a lot fairer. But all those age groupers, I mean, as much as Kona put their prices up 400-fold, everyone was so enjoyed. 2 flat whites were $12 US, which I think is quite a lot. And a very average flat whites. And I know the Aussies have a thing about flat whites, but yeah, it's terrible. But yeah, it was fantastic.
I drove in from where we were staying in California when we were doing the Malibu race into Santa Monica to get a flat white, $7 US. And you know what? I enjoyed it. Very much. I made it last. Annie Emerson, what is happening with you? You're in the dark. You're in the dark room. You're probably in your pajama pants. It's very early over there. How are you going?
I am in my pajama pants. Oh my God. I have been up a while, but God, yeah, I mean, it's just been such an exciting week. I feel like we haven't kind of stopped, and there's been so much. You know, at this time in the year, normally everyone's wrapped up and on a winter break, and now, you know, we've still got tons of racing to go. So it's exciting, all good stuff. Yeah, and we are in the dark because it is dark because Timmy's got to go on the school run. So we've got this podcast going nice and early in the morning.
That's it. Nice and early for you. For me, 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Perfect time.
Perfect.
Haven't you got a beer? Where's your beer, Will?
I've got a beer glass. This one came straight from the original.
You're such a lightweight. You're such a lightweight.
This one came from the original Cheers bar in Boston, the one where they shot the actual Cheers. Yeah. It's full of full-strength water as well. Thank you very much. Look, we'll talk about the World Champs and Kona and everything, and we'll talk about WTCS Cagliari as well later on. But we're going to hit SLT first, as always. And it's been a little while now since Toulouse, and now we look forward to Neom, which happens on October the 29th. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, that word encapsulates every race is interesting, but this one's going to be interesting in every single element. But first of all, just unpack Toulouse. You guys were there. I wasn't there, but it looked to be, for me, I think if we keep going back there, and I hope we do, that it's going to be like the Monaco of triathlon, because it seems to be like there was just tons of fans there, twisty little course, really unique, and it has a potential to be a real jewel in the crown of Super League, and the French turned out, Tim.
Absolutely. I mean, we did a presentation the day before in the town square, and there were a couple of thousand people there, but it wasn't just the numbers, it was just the enthusiasm from everyone. They were well educated on their triathlon. They were chanting people's names. You know, all the teams got called up onto the stage, and then everyone did a sign-in of kind of like cards of the Eagles, the Cheetahs, etc. And it was, I mean, just the whole city got behind it. And it's such a vibe. I've never been to Toulouse. It really is a vibrant city. I got there on, I think, Friday, and I was like, what is going on? It was just like the hustle and bustle, and everyone turned up to watch the race. The course was downtown along the river. The course had everything from I think it's probably the first river swim we've ever had, the first hill since probably Malta and the aeroplane runway in Australia, Hamilton Island. And it played a big part in the race. As you said, I can't wait. I really hope and think we should go back there and make it happen, Super League.
Oh, don't look at me, mate. I don't make the decisions. What about you, Annie? You were down there. You were down there and got to experience it on the ground as well. And yeah, as I said, it was a beautiful day. It was nice and warm there. The big crowds and all the athletes as well, which is great. I just I've never had a feeling like that before. Like I felt like I was a superstar, and that's something we've heard from so many of them.
And I think that's what was so brilliant about the event, because these guys work damn hard, and for them to be there in a place where, as you rightly said, Tim, you're really educated people, not just people going, oh, there's a bit of a race on, people who really understand triathlon, who really enjoy it. And I think that the athletes were sort of, paid for that twofold by, as you said, the presentation in the square the day before. I mean, it was so exciting. I don't know about you, Tim, as a manager, but I just had such a buzz going up on stage and all these people cheering. I felt like a movie star or something.
Emerson.
But
Oh my God, that's how she used to be.
I was like, thank you guys, thank you. Yeah, Annie's up next.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
Can I just tell you, I did make it. I did make it. Okay, it might have been 25 years ago. I did make it onto the front cover of French Triathlete magazine. But anyway, let's move on, because it's not about me, this podcast. It is about the athletes. The course.
Have you been on the front cover, Will, of a magazine?
Yeah,
only when I cut my head out and put it on like the Rock's body, which I haven't done for like hours and hours.
The Rock, God. Is that your go-to body double? The Rock.
I don't know. Who should I say? I'm not sure. Like
Will Ferrell.
I was going to say like
Jack
Timothy
Black.
Chalamet or something. I'm a real Danny DeVito type body type. Just a big sack of water. Come on, you guys.
No
Jeez,
way.
please.
Listen, you and I went for a run together, Will. I was impressed with your running. I don't want to sound condescending or patronising or whatever.
Yeah, but you will.
But but you ran a lot better than I thought you were going to run.
You are such
You didn't get dropped.
I know, such a bit.
The conversation did drop off at the end, Will. I was like, what's going on? He's not talking anymore.
Well, no, I was bored of you, mate. I was bored of your banter with Ronnie. Like, basically, I was just, I couldn't breathe at all. But yes, no, you do sound condescending. It's one of your great traits.
I can't help
Emerson.
it. It's really hard when you're as great as I am, because everyone is just a little bit down there. But anyway, let's be really serious and go back to this amazing race. Toulouse was just bloody brilliant. That course, when we walked around it the day before, we were all like, oh my God, this is going to be exciting and eventful. And it was exactly that. I think looking back at it, the way the athletes came out of transition and went straight up that bloody hill. I mean, I think, it took a whole lot of, I don't know, what was I going to say? It's a bit early in the morning, but you had to be absolutely on your game to get on the bike and get it up the bloody hill. We saw loads of people failing there and struggling, and rightly so. And I challenged all the athletes, not just physically, but mentally, as we saw when Johnny Brownlee tried to run into the river with his bike helmet on. And Matt Hauser tried to put his trainers on when it was the swim next. But I think that the athletes were so physically challenged that mentally they just kind of lost the plot slightly. I mean, God, I wouldn't even made it for him, but yes.
Well, I mean, it makes you sharp, doesn't it? I mean, and then you see, and we'll talk about it later, but both Matt Hauser and even more Johnny Brownlee went on to Cagliari and had outstanding races, especially Johnny. But like before we do that, let's go back to let's start with the women's. I mean, Toulouse told the tale of two tied Taylors, Georgia Taylor-Brown and Taylor Spivey. 56 all they finish after a 1-2. I want to know whose performance was more impressive, because obviously Georgia Taylor-Brown was imperious in the way that she is when she's on, and lately she has been on a lot. But for Taylor Spivey, and you mentioned about the bike, she was one of the ones that fell foul of that, and she had to work her way back through that race with a lot of grit to finish second to make sure that it was tied. So, I mean, a lot of people will go, Georgia Taylor-Brown's going to be the favourite for Neom. But Taylor Spivey has done something she hasn't done before. She made 28 grand last year. She's on 60 or something now, and she's in striking distance of taking this thing completely, Tim.
Absolutely. I think for the women's race, it was the execution of the race. That's where it was won and lost. I mean, she lost 21 seconds in the first race, not because of her physical ability, but because of nerves is the wrong, just through errors under pressure. Georgia had a great swim, and then, she put the hammer down. And, I think it wasn't the swim, the bike and the run that won it. It was those smaller details. It was nailing the transitions, in between the transitions, just that calmness. And yeah, Taylor, once she was on the back foot, yes, she did race the second race quickest, and the third race, well, she wasn't quite the quickest. But yeah, she made just that one mistake, and you get punished, and that sounds harsh. But she opened up the door. She was there. She was in the right position, and yeah. I mean, so I still think Georgia's, that performance was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I feel sorry for Taylor, and she'd be kicking herself because she knows physically she can go mano a mano, or she can go toe to toe with Georgia, but she just can't afford to make those mistakes because Georgia is not making them anymore. She did early on in the season, though, but she didn't make them in Toulouse.
Well, remember last year she ran into that bollard. That was like a whole other thing. She had a bit of a terrible
she took a short shoot when she didn't have it. She almost crashed in London this year when she took Sean Rainsley out. Yeah, but she was on it, and when she's on it, she's deadly. She can, similar to Taylor, she is of a level where when she makes mistakes, she can still get second. But yeah, when she doesn't, she's, I don't want to say flawless because it's a big, but I mean, yeah, she didn't put a foot wrong.
If they'd have swapped positions and Taylor Spivey hadn't made that and she'd have won that race, she would have been sitting with a nice little 2-point buffer, which will let her know that she would at least be equal champion. And well, probably on countback she wouldn't make it, but being a couple ahead of Georgia Taylor Brown and knowing that she could win and you could still win the championship, from an entirely different race.
She's going into the final. Taylor would have then, it was switched. She would have carried on that momentum. Obviously, Georgia's raced since then and had another good race, so she's now got that full momentum. Yes, Taylor would have gone back with a training group in Portugal and really got her head down, and focused on it. But I do think it's kind of, I know they're tied, but momentum, it's going to be tough to beat Georgia. But let's see what happens in Neom.
Yeah, but that's the thing about Neom, isn't it? Because it's going to be like 38 degrees, and it's a completely different race to what we're normally used to seeing. Like
it's a one-lap bike as well.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean.
We're not going to see them. It's got the course, the under the course is going to be a bit different. There's a bit of gravel riding as well. So there's lots of these different elements that are either going to rise or implode.
That's exactly right. No, me neither. It's going to be outstanding. What about you, Annie? Like in terms of the two Taylors, I mean, how big's the gap between them? Because on points is nothing, but if you ask 10 people who's going to win this thing, and 9 of them would say Georgia Taylor Brown, and the other one would be Taylor Spivey or a relative of hers.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard to bet against GTB. I mean, she just has this aura and this air of invincibility at the moment. But she did make a mistake in Malibu. She does make mistakes, and that will be the only thing I think that holds her back, because at the moment she is just, I don't want to say a class above the rest, because what Taylor's done has been brilliant, and I've loved watching her confidence grow. I think she needed something to go, come on, I'm better than this, because she was amazing. And she was known as sort of Miss Consistency, but no one wants to be known as that. You want to be known as a winner. And, watching her race in Malibu, and she was able to capitalize on GTB's little crash there, but she's looking stronger. And I think for me, I don't know, I think you guys would probably agree, she's in the form of her life. We've never seen her race so well. So I just don't think you can say it's all over. I think there'll be a good battle. And because, as you've just said, the conditions are going to be brutal. And someone like Miriam Casillas, okay, I know she's with the cheaters, Will. I know you're about to say I'm being biased.
Here we go. Get the cheaters in here. How does that work? Sophie Caldwell's right up there. She's a cheater.
Absolutely right up there. But I know that Miriam absolutely loves the heat. And she went really well in Malibu, and she's just had the best race of her life.
In Toulouse. Was it too chilly for her?
Yeah, she had a shocker. She wasn't well. She had cold. But
excuses. Okay, right, I understand.
But Miriam's just had the best race. You guys, honestly, just like listen to me, because otherwise you're going to feel a bit embarrassed when I come out, going, look, I told you.
I don't think it's going to be 38 though.
Well.
I think it's going to be mid 20s to mid 30s at that time of the year, because we're right on the golf.
Well, okay, but
I can't find Leon on my. Jeddah's in the middle of the blooming desert. That's inland, like 300k from the coast.
No, it's not,
That is
though.
like
It's not, though.
that's. Oh no, I'm thinking of Riyadh, the capital. No,
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
I
you are.
apologise. I'm thinking. No, but Jeddah's really far south. We're right up near Cairo. We're closer to Cairo. We're honestly.
Look at this.
Yeah, but we're nowhere near there.
Yeah.
That's like me saying, look, here's the weather in Toulouse compared to London. Oh, it's my kids.
Nah, bollocks. Nah. I got no time for
I'm
that.
telling you. I just can't find Neon in any weather app because the city
There's
doesn't
a little.
exist yet.
I think people should know that you guys are both flashing up. For those guys that are listening, you're flashing up your phones, showing us the weather temperature.
I'm assuming that we're just bumping. People are going to go, I can't see what's happening, so I'm going to go over to YouTube and watch the video version.
Oh, yeah, that's
and then
a
they're
good
going to
idea,
go, oh my God, it's on YouTube. This is like blowing my mind. I'm going to watch them all again.
Exactly. I want to see. Well, they would have switched over anyway to see Annie in her pajama pants.
I would have put my suit and jacket on.
I have put my pajama pants on. Look
at that. The checks. Now, Annie, a serious question. Do you wear the pajama top too?
I definitely don't.
You don't? Because I think that if you're an adult, it's probably not something that you should be getting into. However, there's people in my house that are not me that are adults that definitely wear the top and bottom.
I definitely have never worn the top and bottom of pajama set. No, definitely. Much prefer like a nice little frilly vest or something. You cannot do top and bottom.
Sorry, what we're talking about? What we sleep in?
Pajama tops and bottoms.
No, we don't sleep in anything. This is what I put on.
What's this?
Hang on,
what are you showing us?
31 degrees there today. So it's going to be warm, but it's not going to be crazy hot.
How did you find that? Did you just Google neon weather?
I went on I googled neon weather and it's taken me to ArabianWeather.com.
Yep, ArabianWeather.com.
You two that sound like a couple of real weather geeks. Can we get on with this show?
Hey, it's important, man. It's important stuff.
We're doing this for Miriam, just to give her, so it's nice and warm.
That's true. Just mark my word. Mark my word.
ArabiaWeather.com is a very informative website.
But I also thought, going back to Toulouse, I thought Cassandra was going to have a better race than she did. I know Munich was the last time she raced, but it was definitely
she was never cold. But that bike course, Tim, was always going to be trouble for her, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was only that one section, that descent. Then it was faster, but I thought it had a really good flow. But yeah, I mean, to get fourth, I guess she was best of the rest. No disrespect to Potter, Leher, and Lindemann, but I really thought that she was going to be right up, even in the last race, because it was a double run. So the first two races were only 1 kilometer run. The last race was 2. I thought she was going to storm through, but she didn't go anywhere near Georgia Taylor or Sophie. Hopefully she and again she was a little bit off in Cagliari, the WTS weekend, by her high standards, and that looked So I thought French crowd, she might have risen.
Well, let's put it in context, because you've got 56 points apiece, and it's Georgia Taylor Brown and Taylor Spivey, and that's one race we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at a race as well between several women for the third spot on the podium, which is, and at the moment, there's a huge gap, like a too big a gap to cross over to the top two steps, but Sophie Caldwell's on 39 points, Beth Potter's on 36, Verena Steinhauser, who's had a really solid debut season, is on 34, Jean Leher, who's been a real surprise pack at 33, Miriam Casillas, the cheetah, on 31, and then behind them all is Cassandra Beaugrand, who could win this entire thing and take the full 20 points and rocket herself up the leaderboard. But if I had to pick out of those women, considering the conditions, etc., and we talk about Beth Potter struggling in the cold, but I saw her in Singapore and she's basically dying in the arena games, so she doesn't like the humidity either.
She's very temperate. She likes temperate.
Oh, anything between 22 and 23 degrees is perfect. Yeah, like like the hot, the cold. I got a really narrow window where I dominate. So who do we pick out of that lot?
God, I can't believe I'm going to. No, I think the cheetah, Sophie, because she's going to be there in the swim. I think this bike course is going to suit her. It's not very technical. It's a big triangle, but I think she'll just be, from her crit racing this winter. Beth. But then again, we don't know how long the run is up the beach because the desert's pretty big. But then Leher. I mean, if Leher turns up, who raced in Malibu, she was like a pocket rocket. She was it was so yeah. I put Sophie as, you know, out of those women the favourite, then Lahair, and then Miriam. God, 2 cheaters.
Yeah.
I know. And
Hang on, Steinhauser's
I mean,
a cheater, no? Oh, hang on.
yeah, yes, she is.
No,
3
she's
cheaters in
definitely-
there. 3
Yeah,
cheaters.
but I would
and I
put
tell
those
you
2
what,
to get 3rd and 4th.
Yep.
I tell you what, Sophie said that it was really thanks to her that she got 3rd. She said she was an absolute monster on the bike, Verena Steinhauser. And I think, you know, she's still got some work to do on her run and on her swim, but she's so committed. And, you know, I have to big her up a bit because she's just so professional, and everything she does in life is geared towards racing. You know, she leaves no stone unturned, and, you know, she's an amazing athlete. But I think Sophie for 3rd for sure. But it's going to be an interesting battle all round, and that's what's so exciting, you know, right at the top. And then for the 3rd position as well, you know, there are going to be some great battles.
There is. And then, of course, there's the discipline leaders and all 3 of them are still up for grabs. There's only 2 up for grabs in the men's, but in terms of the swim, Cassandra Beaugrand has notched up 20 points. You, of course, get 8 and 6 and 4 for the top 3 swim times in each event. Cassandra Beaugrand's missed an event. She's still on 20. Sian Rains is on 16. So essentially, because it's 8, 6 and 4, Cassandra Beaugrand in the box seat. She only really has to finish in the top 2 or 3. She's probably going to take it out. The same thing, it's 4 points in the bike between Georgia Taylor-Brown and Emma Jeffcoat. Now, I saw Emma yesterday, actually, in an infrared sauna, just spending hours in there trying to acclimatise herself to the heat.
You saw her in the sauna. Where the heck were you two?
We go to the same gym. We live near each other. So I saw her in the sauna, nothing weird. And we just sit there and
Nothing
sweat
weird.
and talk about it.
What do you mean by nothing
Well,
weird?
it's just 2 people sitting in a sauna, you know, nothing
So
sus.
not like the person in Munich that had no clothes on, and
Not like the European saunas, which were very confronting for me, actually.
They were mixed in our hotel, no clothes allowed.
Yeah.
Full of
And I just kept sitting in there
members.
waiting for anyone under the age of 50 to come in, and it never happened. I don't know where to look.
Came in.
It was yes, no, we're close.
Tall fella.
It was in proportion, absolutely in proportion. That's when I left. So Emma Jeffcoat's 4 points.
Yeah,
what?
I was talking about no. Yeah, go on. Sorry, carry on. The sauna battle threw me. Who stayed in there the longest?
I'm on 0 points in that. Yeah, Georgia Taylor-Brown 24, Emma Jeffcoat 20. So again, Emma Jeffcoat she hasn't earned a single dollar yet, but she could earn up to 45K if everything works out her way. And she needs to win because she's in the mix for a couple of different things. But this one is a big one. She's 4 points behind. She's hoping Georgia Taylor-Brown doesn't aim for the bike points and goes for the overall.
They
and then
talk
she can
because they're in the same team.
I think they're going to. I mean, you say, hey man, you've already made you're going to make 160 grand. You reckon you could just help me out?
She could say, I'd get the short shoot for you if you let me have the fastest bike.
Would that be team orders? Is that
then also this is the other thing. What is the fastest bike on a 1 lap 4K bike course?
It's just it. That's it. 1 lap. The whole thing.
No, I think they're going to do it. I think they do a section.
You reckon?
I don't know.
Well, for the swim, it's the whole thing. For the run, it's a whole lap.
Always the same. Yeah, but it's 2 laps normally on the run, and it's only 1 lap.
I reckon we should make it
I
the
don't think
whole
it'll be 4K.
It's definitely got to be the 4K. Absolutely.
I
think GTB is so lovely and so sweet that she'll. She won't hand it over to Emma, but yeah, she'll be aware of what's going on. I guess.
I think she'd be like,
yeah.
I think if it happens, it happens. She should She should just be watching Taylor and make sure she crosses the line ahead of her. You know,
you watch what happens. She'll say, yeah, no, I totally understand. And then afterwards, she'll be like, oh, I didn't mean to do the fastest time. Sorry, I just was so dominant. I wasn't feeling very good, but I managed to do it again. That's what she says after every race. I was feeling a bit sick, but it didn't matter because I crushed everybody. And then
she turned up and she was feeling good.
Oh, well, my God.
Hayden will be in trouble.
Because the week before Toulouse, GTB wasn't well. Like, she'd been pretty under the weather with the coldy flu stuff.
The Super League cold.
Yeah, one of those.
That
But I
I
think
did
that
hear a rumor as well, and I cannot confirm or deny it. But,
Please share.
yeah, I heard that the Scorpions were looking into the rules to see if Georgia could actually race in the men's race, because she's doing a lot better than the Scorpion men at the moment.
She finishes.
Cold
she
or
finished.
no cold.
She wouldn't get eliminated. There wouldn't be no elimination.
That's true.
Hey, she'd fly past Ryan Fisher. Full respect to Fish. Anyway, so are we saying Cassandra Beaugrand's almost a lock for the swim? Georgia Taylor-Brown for the bike, depending on team orders. And then it's 4 points between Cassandra Beaugrand and Beth Potter in the run. So basically Potter has to win and do the fastest run lap. And then Cassandra Beaugrand has to finish third or lower, or maybe even out of the top three. So she has to have an off day, basically, overall. And maybe that could happen given the conditions or, any number of different things that happens in Neom. But it's hard to bet against Cassandra and Georgia taking out all of those $15,000 bonuses. Does anyone have any thoughts outside of that?
no.
I think Cassandra, her running, that should be a given, and the swim, and unless Sean has a fly, it depends where the swim is as well in terms of the swim timing, Matt. Like if we see what we saw in Malibu, where Emma Jeffcoat was really at it, and then she got overtaken by Lahair on that long swim on the long run. That's the only thing that might throw her.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one, actually. Emma did not know that was happening. So, they're going to be right on it on this in this respect. And for Cassandra, she can walk away with 30 grand from one race.
It's quite funny. They're really on it this race because all this money's on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Cassandra obviously misses out on the... They don't think about it until the last minute and they're like, no, I'm winning, right? So, and then, Cassandra, who's not going to get any team money, obviously just knows that there's 30K out there for her if she has a decent
plus the
swim
individual
run.
if she does well.
Yeah, exactly. Then
if she split Georgia and Taylor, like say Taylor won, then it was Cassandra, then Taylor. That's even more points. So it would be interesting.
It will be interesting. Let's talk about the men's. No one can catch Hayden Wild. I mean, he's on track to pick up what could be 185 grand. They can. Basically, he just needs to get across the finish line, almost.
He needs to get any point. I think.
Essentially at this point because he's just won 3 or 4 races and he was on the podium in the other one. So he's just had an imperious series, and what he has done is not make the mistakes that those around him have made, and that's basically been the difference between Hayden Wild and the rest. And in some respects, it's the same with Georgia Taylor-Brown, but I think that it's a lot closer athletically in the men's. It's just that Hayden Wild hasn't stuffed anything up yet. So,
Matt Hauser has, basically.
Yeah, and Matt Hauser has, and Vasco's had an off day.
Toulouse, Matt Hauser went quicker than him in the first race. He was a second slower than him in the second race, and then he made 2 vital mistakes in the third, and he got the quickest run, but it was too little too late. It was Red Rover,
Yeah, so, I mean, when Matt Hauser, say Hayden Wild, first of all, does he just go into this and basically, is he protecting, or is he going to go, I'm going to go win this race? Because I don't think that he cannot go and try and win the race. And you know what he's like. He's just going to go out there for the win.
He is, it's so funny because off the race course, he's the sweetest guy, with so much time for everyone, very chill, very approachable. But there's something about, he's out there to win. There is no way he is going to Neom to go, I'll just get enough points to take the victory. He wants to go and, stamp his authority all over it. It's hard for the other guys because he's just so damn good. And, he has a slight chink in his armor with his swim, which can sometimes, as we saw in Commonwealth Games, be brilliant, and other times can just be a little bit off. But he just has this ability to ride so hard and so strong. Technically, he's so good. And I think it's almost got to the place, sadly, where not in Hauser's case, but he hasn't given himself the chance because he keeps, kind of cocking up. Excuse for want of a better phrase, a bit early in the morning. But I think that he's unbeatable, totally. Yeah, and he will go for the win.
You say he's so nice and approachable and everything, and he is. But to the other competitors, I think there's a few people that kind of got their noses put out of joint by Hayden, and it's because of what he does when he's racing, not because of what he's like when he's not racing.
I think that it's a tough one because, everyone loved him, and now he's come back. He's so invincible, What do you think, Tim? But I do think that you know, we're not in that mix.
He does keep. I think he does keep himself to himself off the outside. You know, he's just with his girlfriend, just chilling. Like the boys went for Five Guys in Toulouse afterwards and a few beers, and I don't think he went. Not because he wasn't in. It's just not his cup of tea. But I going back to racing incidents. Yeah, there are racing incidents, but you know, we saw what happened at Leeds WTS. There's been 2 occasions where in Super League this year where 2 athletes have specifically said it was Hayden who was punching me in the swim. So he is getting more of a reputation like that, unfortunately. But that's I guess until he gets called up on it, he's not going to change because it's working. And you know, he is going to dive down the inside on the bike and go to everyone else. You know, if he's at the back of the swim, he wants it so much he will climb over your back, not sit on your feet. And that's his character, and that's what makes him so good.
But and I think that, you know, it would be easy to criticize that, and I could really appreciate how some of the athletes would be a bit pissed off with that. But how did Ali Brownlee behave going back 20 years? What was he?
Well, he
like?
And he got disqualified in his last ever race.
I'm not condoning.
And he got DQ'd in his last ever race, you know, for punching Steve McQueen. I mean, not Steve.
Lightning Chase McQueen. If he punched Steve McQueen, that would be a whole other problem.
They'd be like, you got to eat 52 eggs, not 51.
But just hear me out, because I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not condoning, you know, bad sportsmanship behaviour, but I do think that,
It's what makes him a winner, though. It's what makes him a winner.
Yeah,
like it's that he's got a bit of mongrel about him, and he unleashes it, and that people don't like that. They get their nose put out of joint, but those people are not winning the races.
Yeah.
So you know,
but
some people can win smooth.
I don't think he's a stronger character as Alistair. Alistair did not give a flying monkeys about what anyone thought of him, even his brother.
Yeah.
You know, he really didn't. But I still think this is going to slowly eat up at Hayden over the next 2 years, leading up to Paris, when he becomes not alienated, but more and more kind of like that. And we haven't even mentioned Alex Yee, you know, who's someone that can beat him, and you know, Vince, you know, when Vince gets back, Lier,
and he just turned off
so many other people.
This is a bit of a cough.
And he turned off a video to cough instead of her audio.
You've still got some snot hanging out your nose, Anna.
You're going to turn off the sound, pal, when you're going to cough, not the vision.
Just mute it.
Oh, I love it. That's really good. How many shows have we done? Carry on, Tim.
You go, Tim.
Yeah, but I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, as it's similar to Georgia, if not better. He knew what he had to do to get away from the big swim of Maddie Hauser in that last race, you know, and he knew that it's not the swimming, the biking, the running. It is the last 200 meters of the bike, the positioning, just tactically being aware. Matt's not here. I will push on. So yeah, I mean, at the moment he's the complete package when it comes to Super League Triathlon. He's doing what Vince used to do back in the day. I can't believe I'm saying back in the day with Vince. Yeah,
I know. It's just, the day just changes very quickly, doesn't it? It's every day. It seems like there's a new day every day. So, and like speaking of mongrel, I mean, and that same Malibu race, as you're talking about, where Ryan Fisher was like, I'm gonna knock Hayden Wilde out, like after what he did. A similar thing happened between Taylor Reid and Matt Hauser. So, you know, there was a bit of argy-bargy there as they were running up for the swim jersey points. So. And they went at it
out afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They did
afterwards, and they went for bike rides in Toulouse together. They had beers and coffee. Well, Hayden's not talking to anyone because he's just like, "What? I didn't do anything." Well, Maddie Hauser goes, "Look, it's racing. I want to win. You want to win. Let's go at it." But we're not racing now, and I think that's the difference. Is Hayden's not. He's keeping his racing Hayden is the same to the boys off the court. He's not doing kind of like what Kipchoge does. He's like relentless when the gun goes, but outside he wants to hug everyone, you know, which is a great way. Oh, and he's having a sneezing fit now.
She's having a sneezing fit, exactly. She'll come back again. I think that was exactly my point. You know, like you can see on Instagram, right? They're tagging each other now. They're like best mates, Hauser and Reid. And whereas like Hayden just, like at some point, maybe he just goes, oh, maybe I could have, you know, not alienated everyone.
But you know what? There's a whole other podcast on this, on sort of behaviour of champions, and I think that
podcast.
that when I'm not.
Why am I not doing this podcast?
Oh God,
Yeah,
that's
why am I not
idea.
doing this podcast?
I mean, not a podcast, but another chat on another time. And I know we'll be short on time, and we've waffled, quite long enough. And Tim's got to go on the school run, but I had a really good chat with Wild, with Hayden, going back a couple of years ago now in Jersey. Actually, was it last year? And he has a reason to go out and fight, And I'm not saying the other athletes don't, but I think when an athlete comes from a background and upbringing, when they've lost their father, when they want to kind of look after their family, they become quite ruthless, and that's a real driver for some athletes.
Yeah,
I think.
no.
If we're, it's a real Brett Sutton thing, isn't it, of taking the athlete into an uncomfortable place, and people that have had to suffer will perform better. It's not always the case, but I think there's something about Wild, and it's not just a total arrogance that I'm going to be, a bit of an asshole just for the sake of it. He has a real deep-rooted desire to succeed, to go back to his country and be with his family and help his mum and stuff. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn. If I am, Hayden, do say
he's not on the podcast, so
that's a big driver.
He's not going to be able to say it.
Yeah, we can say what we want.
But hopefully he won't tune in and message me.
Well, he's going to take home potentially $185,000 US, which in New Zealand dollars that's it. You get to be Prime Minister if you have that much money in New Zealand. So that'll be good. And I saw Hannah de Vet, right? Well, he can buy dinner, and I'm like, fair enough, honey. You haven't made any money yet, so.
No, I can't say that. My Eagles women haven't fit nothing.
I don't think so. As you finished the race, I'm not sure.
I've had 3 races and only 1 Eagles finished in 3 of my 4 races. So
and still you're punching though, mate, because you're only 1 point off the cheaters. There's 1 point between the two of you in the teams race. 1 point.
Yeah, but between that's because Miriam and Verone, they didn't have good races. That's why. If they raced like they did in the other races, then anyway.
Let's move on.
Johnny will be back after that brilliant Cagliari.
Depends if he keeps his helmet on.
Go.
Let's talk about that. I mean,
well, no, hopefully he doesn't.
There's plenty more we could talk about. We've run out of time. We could have talked about Kenji Nina's incredible breakthrough performance to hit on the podium. Loved that interview. Loved how much it meant to him. In the discipline jerseys as well. Jamie Riddle, all he has to do is have one of the top 3 swims in Neom, and he'll win 35 grand. Well, he'll win 15 grand for the thing, and then potentially another 20 when the Eagles rocket up to the top of the leaderboard, which will be his biggest payday ever. In the bike, it's so tight. Satchar Sagiv, Hayden Wilder on 16 points apiece. So it's basically a match race between them with Vasco Velasquez on 14. So any one of those 3 could win the bike prime, if you like. And then Hayden Wilder's already won the run. He's just run the pants off everybody. But instead of that, we're going to move on and start talking about the other races, the lower profile races that happened in Hawaii last week. And Tim, we're going to tap you here a little bit with this one. Let's start with the females. But first of all, you said it was better with 2 days. Obviously, if you're a local, I don't think, or you were trying to get accommodation or whatever, you would have hated it. But apart from that, was it good?
I hated it. It was because, it's quite funny. It wasn't. It was the same because the women's race is always that exciting at Kona, but we just don't blooming see it because all the cameras are on the men's race, and there's all these age group men that are involved because they start 5 minutes behind the women. So how they did it is they did the pro women went first, then it was the age group women, and they were in waves. So there were some men racing on Thursday, but they went like 30 or 40 minutes behind the women. So they did not affect the race. So we just saw the cleanest race I've seen with age groupers there. And it was just amazing. I mean, it had everything. The weather was good. There was a swell in the swim. The wind wasn't too good. It's always warm and humid, but it wasn't astronomically. And I just thought, it was a rookie's year for the men and the women. And to have Chelsea, Lisa, Fenella, Sky, some of these women do so well was just amazing to watch.
It was really good, and the telecast can be faulted for just never showing anyone except for the top 2 or 3 people and just banging on about them for 8 hours straight.
They did have this new screen, so in between watching, I went back to the house to watch it on the YouTube channel, and someone said you can watch it on another channel and choose which
I was watching that.
Viewing.
Yeah,
but I guess the commentary was only for the main screen, which was always on the leaders. And I will be honest, the motorbikes, like they do a helicopter shot. There was a motorbike alongside an athlete and one at 45 degrees in front of the athlete. That's not the athlete's fault, but I think there were so many motorbikes that most of the top 5 benefited from it.
Is there ever a race where they don't say that?
Exactly.
Basically happens every single time. And
but I think it was just clearer in this race with the helicopter shot. And the motorbikes were still in the way. It's like, why? You're using the helicopter shot. Tell a director to tell them to go behind.
Yeah, well, we know how hard it is from a television broadcast point of view, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more of some of the other athletes who weren't the Norwegians or Sam Laidlow or Chelsea Tadaro or Lucy.
Lots of penalties as well in the men and the women, which I've never.
Well,
seen.
is that because they had separate races and they actually could hand them out, Laura Phillip and stuff like that?
I know what Ironman are like. There were probably the same amount of drafting officials that there normally are, but they're doing only half the field. So I agree. And check this out. On Saturday, they ran out of water on the run on Alihi Drive for the age groupers, and they ran out of Coca-Cola because they had to. I think there were like something like 6 less aid stations on the run because they couldn't get enough volunteers, and they ran out of Coca-Cola in the energy lab, and the aid stations weren't as long either. Normally they're like they're double. It's like water, Coke, energy drink, bananas. And then they do it again. Well, they only did one. They definitely weren't as long. So yeah, and as you said, the traffic was a crazy. And I think the problem is the mayor went out. The mayor of Kona went out, and he got stuck in a traffic jam for 2 hours. So he threw his pineapples out the bloody cop.
Is that what they do out there when they get upset? They throw the pineapples out.
They did, yeah.
Oh my God, is that not incredibly short-sighted though? I mean, how much money does...
When $1 billion company relies on volunteers to deliver its marquee event, it blows my mind.
Yeah, well, they don't want to spend any money, do they? They're like, well, we can get volunteers. And now, but then some volunteers were volunteering for outrageous amounts of hours. They're putting them to work for 15 hours straight. And
I met a few athletes who were racing and their partners were volunteering, so they couldn't really watch them race and stuff like that.
People are going to get sick of volunteering for a company worth $1 billion. You could probably hire some people.
Yeah.
Chelsea Tadaro, her second ever Ironman. She's the second. Everyone said she was the first mum to win.
Chrissy Wellington.
I'm pretty sure. No, Natasha Badman.
Chrissy
Wellington.
No, Chrissy had babies afterwards. Natasha.
No,
did she not?
100% she didn't.
No, 100%.
100%. I was training with her at the time. But Natasha Badman, she had young children, but she's got a daughter that when she won was already 40. She had a daughter when she was in her early 20s, maybe even a teenager. Natasha Badman did. So everyone's going, it's the first mum, but it's the second. So Natasha Badman, giving a big shout out to you. But yeah, and a mother.
But
Go on.
I'll just say one thing. She hadn't had the baby 1 year.
Yeah, 18 months.
That's totally different.
Someone who has given birth.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, how the hell do you?
Well, that's like Nicola Spirig did that. She came back and raced 11 weeks after her third. I'm like, it's just a superhuman effort. I've seen what women go through. It's pretty heavy. Yeah. Lucy Charles-Barclay, a 4th consecutive second, but what a return from her. All banged up in March, didn't think she was going to make it. Stress fracture in the hip, etc., and comes back and puts that performance on, which was awesome. On the flip side, Daniela Reef led out of T2, did her bike thing, looked supreme, came into T2 just ahead, but just didn't have the run. So a tale of 2 different races there, but LCB is so good.
Lucy, is Lucy ever going to win Kona?
She's only 27 or
everyone
something.
Everyone says it's going to happen. It's like, is she going to be a Brad Bevan? Is she just going to get second to Simon Lessing in every race he ever did?
But she's so young, she's so young. She's got plenty more chances.
You've got to look after your body.
Body's already breaking down quite massively.
Okay.
Yeah, I just hope. I just think it's going to be tough for her to win.
Well,
I do as well. And the thing is, you say she's only 27, but how many Ironman races has she done
Yeah.
already? She started
In
out as
such
an
a short
Ironman
space of
athlete.
time.
How much damage?
And did you
Yeah,
notice
I mean,
everyone
she's
was a lot
hugely
closer to her in the
talented,
swim?
but
She doesn't have that weapon. Like there was a pack of 4 that came out the water within a minute of her. Well, last time she did Kona, she had like a 2.5 minute lead with Lauren Brandon, than the next pack. So they are closing, and that is the likes of Lisa Norden, Laura Phillips. Again, Laura Phillips got a penalty and she was 4th. Lisa Norden was 5th and got a penalty. That they would have definitely come off the bike with Daniela, and that changes the dynamics of the race. And I saw Laura Phillips after the race, 2 days after at the Zwift House, and she was fuming about her penalty.
Well, she only missed out on the podium by 8 seconds, and she had a 5-minute penalty. So I can see why that would be upsetting. And obviously, what you mentioned.
She missed out. She missed out by 8 minutes, not 8 seconds.
Oh, 8 minutes. Sorry, 8 minutes.
Yeah. But it says a 5-minute penalty, and it just changes the
5-minute penalty.
Riding with a group and those motorbikes as opposed to on your own is huge.
How about this? That same article that I've taken both of those things about Chrissy Wellington being a mum 15 years ago and that 8 minutes versus 8 seconds came from the same article. I've been stitched up twice
same
there.
Journo.
I won't
name and shame.
Who was that?
Don't.
Come on. Yeah,
we already talked about this person before the podcast, Tim, and that's all needs to be said about that.
Definitely 8 minutes, 90 seconds.
Yep. I didn't see it because all I saw was the front runners. Because that's all they showed.
No, it's true.
Lots of discussion.
American, they want winners. It's all about winners.
They want winners, yeah. Lots of discussion about the PTA rankings too after LCB stayed at 3 and then Reece Charles Barkley said that their PTA rankings suck because she dropped to 6th after that swim and then they rejigged it up to 112 points so she ended up staying at 3rd when she's never been beaten.
It because someone complains.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it was an algorithm mistake.
It wasn't. It was they... Yeah, they're reacting to pressure of famous, good people. If someone who was ranked 99th had said, "Oh, I should be moved up to 97th," they wouldn't have even responded to the email.
No.
It's had a PTL role.
And to be fair, it's a very hard job. Very hard job, and I think they get it really right when you look at the top 10 overall. Like you can't really argue with what their actual overall rankings are, but the swim, bike, and run rankings probably need work, and they've said that they do. It's the same with Laidlow laying down a 4:04
do we need
bike
them?
record.
Do we need
them? No,
them?
probably not.
Swim,
I mean, it's
run.
nice.
Because with Super League, we have them because there's prize money at stake and it changes the dynamics with the short shoot, etc. But just for the sake of having it, like if I'm in the lead group, I don't care if I lead the lead group or sit. In fact, I'll be fuming if I do. I just want to sit in the lead group. So people aren't even... we saw in Dallas, all the boys, Aaron Royals doing backstroke, Josh Amberg, they didn't want to swim hard. So it's all on time, not position. So I do think it's
there's probably
with that. Yeah,
maybe trying to fit a square peg in a round hole there. But fair play to the PTO for bringing it and wearing some of this. But yes, it's an ongoing situation. But what's not a situation is Gustav Eden's shoes, which are going to be fine. Apparently they're legal, despite the fact he was on the high heels. Didn't really make a difference in the end.
Hold on, time out.
Okay.
Those are my shoes.
You got those shoes? You got the same ones?
No, they are my shoes.
You own those shoes?
To him. They were mine, and I got a phone call in Munich from On saying, "We haven't got any shoes for Gustav in his size. Can you post us yours?" So in Munich, they came to reception to pick them up, to physically take them to the head office in Zurich to do some altercations to them. So they were, but I'd actually done. I'd run with you in them, Will.
Oh, were you wearing those shoes? You were wearing Gustav's exact shoes when we went running.
Yep.
That's why he's so bloody fast.
You killed me because of that.
Oh, it was dancing on my toes. But
I thought you were taller than I remembered.
No, but those are not my shoes. They altered them. So the shoe that will be on the sale is the one that I've got, and then they add another centimetre of foam. I don't know what else they do, but yeah, the stack height is way different.
It all sounds dodgy to me.
Well,
Swiss,
what cannot
dodgy?
That's true actually. What cannot be argued is the fact that the new generation is here now with Laidlow coming in behind Gustav, and even like Cameron Worth broke his own bike record from 2018 by 3 seconds, and that was a 4:09, and he was 5 minutes back off the bike. And like Joe Skipper had his best ever race in 5th behind the Australian Max Newman, and his 7:55 was the 6th fastest time ever, and he came 5th. It's like insane how quick it was. Can anyone match up with these guys now? If you're a Yarn coming back, or if you're a Lionel Sanders, who obviously he finished in 8:32, are you done? Is it over?
Oh, come on! You cannot compare Lionel to Jan.
I'm not. I'm just saying that they're not
done.
part of this group.
He's done mentally. He's cooked, man. He doesn't know what to do because he thinks he's still comparing himself with the best of the best, and he's not even top 10 material at the moment. He needs to go focus on top 10 to then become the best again. But Jan can definitely be up there, I think. I was more impressed with Gustav and Christian's bike.
I think it's hard
with their bike,
than their run and swim.
Yeah,
there was a massive pack out of swim of like 18 athletes, and there was a split on the bike, and only 5 went with it, and 2 of them were the Norwegians. You would have definitely put the likes of Magnus in there again. He got a penalty. Deetlef, there were Florian Agent, Tim O'Donnell. Those are Kona biker boys. But no, it was the young guys that went. So it was their biking that set them up for that 100%. It really was.
Well, absolutely it was. Sam Laidlow, how about like just the fact that he didn't blow up, set the 2nd fastest time in history and new bike record, and this guy's 24. They're all 24. Yeah. It's an old man's game, Iron Man, no?
The average age of the top 10 was 26.
Ask a question?
I'm old.
So obviously, I guess, I'm not, and the longest I raced was half Ironman. Tim's the absolute pro, world record holder, etc.
No, hold on.
Former.
One thing.
Here's a question.
Former.
Former. Well, yeah. But this has to be down to.
He's off now. He's had enough.
So is that this must be down to technology and equipment. It's not that the human, species has become, that much better, or people's hearts and lungs or VO2 maxes are bigger. This has to be so much down to technology.
The same technology is available to the guys that are 35 as it is to the guys that are 23.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, Annie. Overall, it is. I mean, did you see Head had a new wheel there? Did you see
the deep dish wheel that Lionel ran?
It was like, holy moly, was it deep? We've obviously got the carbon shoes. It's not just the equipment; it's the understanding of the aerodynamics, and you're holding your body position, as well as and also fueling. Even when I did my first Ironman in 2014, I was taking a basic gel. Now you've got like super gels with absorption rates which are through the roof. It is definitely technology. That's why we're going quicker. But on the whole, it is a level playing field. I mean, we see that because any athlete that doesn't have a shoe sponsor is in probably 2 brand of shoe at the moment, and people are turning down shoe deals that are probably free product and bonuses, so they can then buy shoes. So it is a level playing field. But yeah, I mean, it is getting quicker. I mean, it was. I think it was highlighted here more than in St. George for the men and the women. This was a changing of the guard, I think, with the men, and with the women, it was showing anything is possible. If you prepare right, you don't need to be a Daniela, or you don't need to be an Anna Haag. You can be a rookie, a second Iron Man in ever, and you can be a mother of 18 months with a daughter of 18 months old, and you can still win. I think that is just fantastic. And be an American, the first American since 1802, I think it was, to win the race. So that's brilliant.
1802.
But just going back to Gustav, what was Gustav's winning time? 7:40.
I can tell you, 7:40. 24.
What was my time? 24. My best time.
Oh, boom!
Wow.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm not saying I would have won. But I'm saying I would have won.
Completely similar race in Brazil.
Were you wearing the fast shoe?
No, I had no carbon shoe. So, man, I would have. Oh my! Can you imagine? I'd have been like Kipchoge. Yeah, how you doing, fella? Nice to meet you. Yeah, lovely jubbly.
Completely a similar race between Kona and Brazil in almost his identical course.
Shut up! Stop spoiling my glory.
Hey man, you're still in the top 2 fastest Ironman ever. Hey,
Yes.
hey,
Wow.
Those Norwegians, please.
All right, and it's if you couldn't get enough racing in that past weekend, sandwich between those 2 Ironman races on Thursday and Saturday was WTCS Cagliari, where all the Taylors were in charge again in the women's. Georgia Taylor-Brown won, and she did it because Taylor Nib just laid down an insanely good bike leg, and she went with her, and then Georgia did what Georgia does and ran away with it. Oh, no,
there was the crash. The crash split the group. So Cassandra got stuck, and they did lose, but the right people were in the right place, so the closer you are to the front, the less chance you have. So someone like Cassandra, who ran, she ran the quickest run by like 30 seconds, but she was behind the crash, so she lost that initial. So, but you got to create your own luck there.
Well, a little bit. I mean, and for Bogrant and Potter, who are the 2 big runners, I mean, Cassandra ran to 8th, so she took 3rd overall from Potter, who finished 10th. Taylor Spivey was there as well, dropped off the back, ended up in 5th. But it was just GTB saying, I'm a favourite for the world title, 3rd win of the series, looks the goods for it. Annie.
I think what was interesting was in looking at Taylor Nibb's run time, she was only
like 15 seconds
slower. Yeah, 18 seconds.
The bike was probably easy.
Now, Nib isn't known as a runner. Yeah, maybe, but gosh, that girl is a talent. I mean, God, take nothing away from GTB. She was in Toulouse, the week before racing, winning, amazing, came there, and they all talked about the fact that they hadn't done a lot of much at all of Olympic distance racing, but I think Nib was really impressive. And the other one, which is a bit of a worry for Cassandra Beaugrand, is Emma Lombardi in 2nd place. That girl is a massive talent. She's getting it right. She doesn't have a weak link. She's very strong all round, whereas Cassandra does. It might be her head that's a weak link, but she suffers a bit on the bike as well. So, and I'm a big fan of Cassandra, but I think Emma Lombardi is going to be quite a threat to Cassandra Beaugrand in terms of taking over that number 1 spot, in France.
They just keep rolling them out, don't they?
Is Emma, she was struggling. Emma was struggling to get starts in WTS, and she got one here, but because she got 2nd, she would have elevated in not just there's so many rankings within World Triathlon, she would have been elevated that now she will get starts. And if she turns up, to Bermuda and to Abu Dhabi. I mean, the other thing is Taylor Nib did not swim very well. She lost like nearly 30 seconds.
Yeah, she had to swim. She had to bike up 30 seconds.
She's up and down.
Yeah.
And she biked up 30 seconds within 2 laps.
And Flora's at the front as well. Someone like Jess Learmoff, she won't be there this year, but hopefully next year. That lead that she's got to swim. She's got to and. 2 lap swim, Aussie, Australian exit and entry. That was interesting. And Miriam again, top 10, top 5. That's fantastic for her. So she's going to be buzzing with confidence going into Neom, the grand final.
Yeah, no, she had a tough solo run there too. She was stuck for a little bit. In the men, how about? And I saw Alex Yee posted yesterday the pictures from his 2017 Cagliari crash, and then obviously how time goes on, and 5 years later. He did the job, and there was a few little moments there. And Alex Yee's, he went to the wrong transition for a second, and then he also pulled up with a little hammy issue that he said was hurting him, and he just stopped for a second and then continued, which I don't think I've ever seen before.
Got the quickest run.
Yeah, his run was incredible. Like he is incredible, and he's focused on this in the same way that Hayden isn't, in the same way, but. And he's on 3,000 points, and it's a weird point system, but he's got a race in hand, so he's going to go to Bermuda, and he's only had 3 scoring races. So I mean, is he in the box seat? Can Hayden take it from him when they go to Abu Dhabi? What's the situation going to be like? Because he looks so good.
He's not in the box seat because he hasn't got the points in the bag. You've got to have the points in the... Yeah, if he wins, he will be, but you have to win. And he cannot control things. Look, there was a crash in the women's race. If the Norwegians turn up, that who knows what could happen. If the rest... Leo Berger, I don't think he raced. I don't think, because he didn't need to.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
He was there. He was there, yes. Yep.
But yeah, so I would say, like, on paper, he's in the box seat if he can do what he's done. But I would rather have points in my bag,
I just want to have a bag,
Okay.
Just any bag.
With some points in.
Hey, but like I know,
bag,
let's talk.
any
I'll
bag.
leave you to talk about
I
Johnny Brownlee, Annie, because it's your favourite topic. But good to see him back moulding races and having the confidence to do so, because he's talked about confidence in the last couple of months since he's come back from his elbow.
Oh, I thought it was a fantastic race. I mean, I think he's probably going to have to thank Kenji Nena for that, for being brave and going off the front, as only, Kenji knows how to do. And I think that Johnny took that opportunity, and that's sort of Johnny of old, of not missing an
I think
opportunity.
it was Furuya who went off the
like,
front.
when someone
Yeah,
goes,
Kinji didn't go off the front.
No,
It was.
oh gosh, okay. Oh, but that's what was on the World Triathlon
it's
website.
racist.
So
Just Jumpy Furuya.
Sorry.
Now who's getting stitched up?
Okay.
Gee, what's happening with it?
Oh my God, I'm really stitched up. So we're all out of sorts today. But whatever. He jumped on an opportunity. It was great to see. Are you laughing at me?
I'm
Well,
not
you stop
laughing at you.
me.
It's just nice to see. It's just nice to see you
okay,
falter. Like
okay.
I've been taking some enjoyment out of it. Let me do it. I'm just quiet here.
Okay. Okay, go on, off you go. But Johnny Brownlee, what a star! A fantastic race. Just great for his confidence, because I think we actually can't underestimate how much he has. I think every race is different for him now, and it's difficult because he loses confidence. He doesn't have youth on his side. So Wild might have a crap race and say, "I'll be back next week," where Johnny's questioning himself, and saying, "Shit, is this the last one?" kind of thing. And to come back and
So is
to
his
deliver
last
so
one?
well,
Is he
he was
retiring?
disappointed.
Have you just announced Johnny's retirement?
No. But his last one.
Don't get flustered. He's just trying to make you flustered, Annie. Don't get flustered.
He is, and I'm not going to be flustered, but I feel a bit ganged up on. But
Welcome,
welcome
to my world.
But as in his last one being, is this going to be my last podium? Because he is getting older. He knows that the young guys are coming through. So I think for him to have really, kind of dominated in a way, or the way he raced, that's the way the Brownies did. They didn't always get the fastest run leg, but they were hard on the bike, and that's exactly.
I will say this as well. Going into the final,
race.
Going into this grand final, it's the Enduro, which is one of Johnny's favourite, and it's not a technical course. It's a triangle, 4K, long. If Hayden is on the back foot out the swim, normally he's so good technically through the corners. There's none of that. So if Johnny races how he did in Caligari with the likes of Maddie Hauser, Kinji, Taylor Reid, some of the Eagles as well, Jamie Riddle, they could put Hayden under pressure right from the gun. And once Hayden's chased and hasn't got back on, if he gets back on in that first run, they could then drop him in the swim again. And then it just, so I think if Johnny pulled up okay, he could affect the results without a doubt come the grand final.
And that's what we like to see, isn't it? Brownlee's affecting results. That's what we've been used to seeing, and that's what we like to see from Johnny. Obviously, Alistair is just trying to get back. He's just trying to get back and race again. I think, look, we've cracked past the hour, so I reckon it's time to wrap it up, and we've covered a lot. Obviously, to learn more about Neom, if you want to learn more about Neom, October 29th, it's going to be a big race Saturday afternoon in Saudi Arabia. All the details are on superleaguetriathlon.com, and I'll see both of you guys there in Neom.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
I'll be there.
Thank goodness.
I'm back.
back.
We missed Toulouse. I'm back.
Cannot wait.
We missed you in Toulouse.
Looking forward to it. I'm chaperoning the Australian athletes, so that they're under the impression that I can protect them whilst we travel through the wilds of Saudi Arabia, and I certainly am not. I will push Emma Jeffcoat in front of a wolf if one comes towards us.
I would too. I would too.
Like
I don't know.
Scorpions and camels in the desert.
I'll push her in front of a camel, man. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like I'll be out.
From the infrared sauna battle to in front of a camel. I love it.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yes, I think it's a good place to end it. Thank you very much, Tim Don. Thank you very much, Annie Emerson. As we said, all the details, superleaguetriathlon.com. We hope you've enjoyed the Short Chute Show. We'll be back with another one at some point in the very, very near future.